Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are going to completely shatter a massive, widely held myth about human compatibility. We've all heard that old saying, right? Birds of a feather flock together. We just naturally assume that to have a lasting bond, you need to date or befriend someone who acts exactly like you. Well, today, we're diving into some absolutely fascinating relational psychology that proves the exact opposite is true.
So why on earth do people who are complete opposites often stay together the longest? I want you to think for a second about that one deeply connected but just totally mismatched pair in your own life. You know the ones. Maybe it's a couple in your friend group, maybe it's your parents, or hey, maybe it's even your own relationship. On paper, their personalities make absolutely zero sense together. But in reality, their bond is basically unbreakable. So why is that?
Well, the answer actually boils down to this really powerful psychological realization. They are not drawn together because they are similar, but because they are facing the same direction. I love this because it completely flips the traditional concept of compatibility upside down. It's telling us that true connection isn't really about what you do on a Sunday afternoon, it's about where your internal compass is pointing.
All right, let's dive into Section 1, the underlying vector. To really wrap our heads around this, we've got to unpack this invisible force driving us all. We call it the vector. So what is it? It's the underlying direction of your emotional passion, your heat, and your psychological drives towards the world. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that this is about the root of our passions. Think of it as the specific internal heat you bring to life, regardless of your surface behaviors. Two people might act completely differently at a party, but if their internal temperature and the direction of that emotional drive match up, they lock together perfectly.
And this leads us to a simple but honestly game-changing equation. Surface friction is less than deep reassurance. Sure, having completely different habits is going to cause some minor daily friction. You might bicker about how to properly load the dishwasher or how fast to walk down the street. But knowing your partner shares your foundational vector, that provides an overwhelming, deep-seated reassurance. That profound psychological alignment literally dwarfs all those minor annoyances, and that's what keeps the bond unbreakable over the long haul.
Moving on to Section 2, Action versus Imagination. Let's look at a concrete example of how completely different people get their mental stimulation. Take two totally different personalities. On the left, you've got the outdoor type. They actively crave physical action, new environments, and meeting new faces just to feel mentally stimulated. Now contrast them with the indoor type on the right. This is someone who finds incredibly rich, deep stimulation quietly reading a book or just exploring the vastness of their own imagination in a quiet room. At first glance, total opposites. You'd think a weekend getaway between these two would be a literal disaster.
But crazy enough, they actually work beautifully together. Why? Because they share the exact same vector, the need to move the heart. Both of them are fundamentally driven by this intense desire for mental stimulation. Their actions are just different vehicles driving to the exact same destination. When they come together, they act like perfect puzzle pieces. The outdoor type gets to borrow those rich, internal, imaginative perspectives from their partner, while the indoor type gets to safely and kind of vicariously experience the external world through the outdoor type's adventures. They just trade perspectives seamlessly.
Okay, Section 3, Facing Our Anxieties.
Now let's pivot a bit and look at how totally different personalities process negative emotions and fears, because this is huge. When anxiety hits, the positive type will frantically fill their schedule. They're basically trying to outrun the worry by overriding it with action and momentum. The negative type, they do the exact opposite. When they get anxious, they hit the brakes. They freeze. They introspect, dissect, and verbalize every single worry until it makes logical sense to them.
It looks like they're completely at odds, but guess what? Their shared vector is resolving the unease. Neither of them is willing to just let that anxiety fester unresolved in their minds. They're both desperately trying to fix the exact same underlying discomfort. Action tackles the external symptoms, while introspection tackles the root causes. And because they share this fundamental goal of resolution, they don't invalidate each other's coping mechanisms. Instead, together, they actually build a full, balanced toolkit of alternative coping strategies for one another. It's pretty amazing.
This brings us to Section 4, the need for healing. Let's take a look at those classic quote-unquote Beauty and the Beast style relationship dynamics. Think about the invisible pain of two extremes here. First, the beauty. The highly attractive, highly visible person who is just completely drained by external expectations, constant judgment, and the exhausting jealousy of others. Then you have the beast, the less noticed person who is entirely drained by their own internal low self-esteem, self-doubt, and the really quiet pain of constant comparison.
Society loves to tell us these two operate in totally different universes, but beneath the surface, they share a profound vector, an equal thirst for healing. What's really interesting here is how, despite this massive visual mismatch, their internal wounds go to the exact same depth. They are both hurting, they are both exhausted, and they are both craving a safe harbor with the exact same level of intensity.
And this creates what we call an unconscious mutual fix. Even though their wounds originate from completely different places, the outside world versus the inside mind, their pain level and their desperate need for a safe sanctuary are completely identical. When these two connect, the pairing acts as a perfectly matched emotional refuge. They create this incredibly powerful, unconscious mutual healing environment where physical appearance rapidly becomes completely irrelevant to the survival of their bond.
Finally, Section 5. Finding your match.
All right, time to get practical and apply this new lens to our own lives. We really need to stop evaluating compatibility purely by shared hobbies or similar habits. Seriously, if your relationship is built entirely on the fact that you both like playing tennis, or you both binge-watch the exact same genre of movies, that bond is incredibly fragile. Relationships built solely on surface similarities like that, they often break the very second life circumstances change, and those hobbies can't be shared anymore.
Instead, try using this quick 3-step framework to discover the true vector of the people in your life. Step 1, look past the immediate behavior. Step 2, identify the heat, like how much passion are they actually applying. And step 3, find the direction. What internal outcome do they truly want? You got to start looking for the roots in your relationships, not just the branches. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative question today. If you really look past the surface, who in your life is actually looking in the exact same direction as you? The answer might just be the person you least expect, the total opposite, who actually understands your heart better than anyone else. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this framework completely changes how you view the beautifully mismatched relationships in your own life.